In this episode, we wonder if the Golden Koi could possibly pass a health inspection, and somebody steals Wei's flower pot. But I think he's got bigger things to worry about. Thank you for coming back from our replay reviews. My name is Leah.
And my name is Kathy.
We are two friends who are here to replay, review, and analyze your favorite video games. And since Kathy has never seen the games before, it helps me view them through her fresh eyes, almost like I'm discovering them again for the first time.
We hope it'll be a similar experience for you.
So it starts out kind of intense in this episode. Wei is called to the restaurant The Golden Koi, where an interrogation is waiting for him. They suspect that he's a rat after Popstar was arrested, but Wei manages to pass the blame to this guy Ming, who is then murdered instead.
On one hand, they're probably all criminals, so I don't feel bad. I mean, they got into this mess. They kind of knew that death was always on the line. But on the other hand, if I was that guy, I would be really mad because I'm thrown under the bus for something I didn't do. Like, if I were to die, it better be for a crime I actually did. But I'm also wondering, how much is Wei going to feel bad once he's done with everything? And we'll get to see more about that.
Yeah, this is like the first...
Not guilt.
He has to survive. Otherwise it's over.
Survivor mode.
Honestly, Conroy is pretty smart. He's the one that pieced this together that, like, oh, Wei shows up, now Popstar's arrested. He's actually pretty smart. Unfortunately, Winston's hatred of Dog Eyes is just too intense, and Wei plays on that, which is ultimately what leads to Ming getting shot in the face. Also, in this scene when Wei is sort of pleading with them and deflecting it to Ming, I don't know if you picked up on the way they were all looking around at each other and clearly, like, not sure what to think, who to trust. That just really highlights the current dysfunction. I think the distrust runs a lot deeper than we initially suspected or realized.
And a quick sneak preview is down the line we'll understand that hierarchy is very important. Yet, this situation right now, it's not very clear. Unlike Yakuza, where it's pretty clear by families, it's getting pretty messy at this level.
Wei goes to sleep, I guess, and then the next morning, he wakes up at his apartment.
I was going to say, he wakes up to all the stress of what happened. Like, it's like a flashback. And we also, is this the first time we get to see the picture at his nightstand where it's just his mom and his sister with him?
Maybe, but it definitely is highlighted.
And what's missing is his dad, so I'm wondering what happened to his dad. Maybe his dad died because of the triads, and that's why he's willing to do this type of work, this undercover work.
It's a good question, because last episode we were wondering if what Raymond was referencing as the triad's history with his family, if that was just his sister, or if there's more to it. After waking up from this tortured sleep, he heads out to do another job for Tang, but as he leaves his apartment, there's two NPC ladies having a chat, and one of them says,
Wei says his flower pot is missing.
And it took me until this rewatch to hear that. And I have so many questions. I feel like this needs to be a sub-story.
Why would these ladies know? I can't imagine Wei talking to these people about, like, hey, did you see my flower pot? Or Wei even caring.
It's such a just detail. Like, talk about details. What a detail to have in this game. Anyway, not really much else to summarize in this scene. Just Wei and Tang start putting a plan together to take down a murderous street racer. And that was pretty much all I had for scene 1. Did you have anything else about that?
No, but I just thought it was kind of comical. His super, super quick encounter with Tang was like, yep, okay, done. And that was it.
All business.
And here I thought there was going to be some kind of romantic plot that's going to go on with this game. And this is their type of encounter.
So Raymond asks Wei to bug the Golden Koi. And after he picks up the bug gear, it gets swiped. And my first question is why? And who? Who stole this? And is it anyone with any connection? Or is it just some random guy that waits for someone to walk out of the tech shop? It seems pointless.
Maybe it's a filler kind of thing, just to kind of get you used to some controls or the story? I don't know.
Yeah, I question it. Although, during the chase at 8 minutes 50 seconds, the guy just shoves this poor lady over the bridge. He had plenty of room to get by. But no, over she goes. After getting the bug back, Wei proceeds to place it at the golden koi, and as he's doing so, we hear Conroy and Winston talking. And it seems like Conroy still doesn't quite trust Wei, but Winston's not so worried.
I feel like Winston's going to get himself killed at this point with how much trust he's putting in Wei. I'm also wondering what their history is. Like, how many times has he been right about this, and how many times has Winston's going to be right about trusting versus not trusting certain people? Because we established it is pretty messy, and trust is a messy kind of relationship. So is that going to cause some kind of civil war?
Yeah, I think the police just picked the perfect time to try to get back in. Because if Winston wasn't so preoccupied with Dog Eyes, I think he would maybe listen to Conroy a bit more. Alright, moving right along to scene 3. So Tiffany, the lady from the karaoke, she calls Wei to ask for help, and he arrives at the club where she tells him that one of Dog Eye's goons, Charlie Pang, pawned a gun off on her. So he takes it for her, and Wei calls Raymond, who tells him to meet him at this location, but when he gets there, there's no Raymond, but there is Pendrew. And then Pendrew uses the gun to stage an existing crime scene, but like making it look better, I guess, so they can pin this all on Charlie Pang.
I have a lot of questions. First of all, how did Pendrew knew to be there, but Raymond not being there? Is Raymond telling Pendrew? Is Pendrew eavesdropping on their conversation? How did he know how to meet him, but Raymond didn't show up? And what was that excuse? Or was Pendrew pretending to be Raymond and saying that, hey, let's meet up there, but it was Pendrew all along? The next question I have is, why is Pendrew having Wei stage all this? It's almost, well, I mean, yes, you're right, that it already happened. So is he like tampering with evidence? And why is Wei just going along and not asking questions? You're just trying to protect and bring justice, yet you're pretty much framing someone else, and is that really justice?
It's iffy. Going through your questions, my guess is, since Pendrew is Raymond's superior, Raymond told Pendrew what was happening, and Pendrew's like, you stay back, I'm gonna meet him. Although Raymond knew the location, now that I'm saying this. So maybe Pendrew was there at the same time as the call and was like, oh, tell him to go here. I don't know. It seems weird that Raymond knew this place, but then Pendrew shows up, so yeah, that is questionable. And then it seems like Pendrew is just cutting corners instead of actually doing his job. And maybe he's having Wei do it to sort of, number one, keep his own hands clean, but also maybe having some leverage over Wei, if necessary at some point. But all in all, questionable.
I hope he becomes suspicious, because that's not right, and Wei should know better than to tamper with evidence.
Back to helping Tang, Wei is tailing Hotshot, the street racer, and his friend Naz, who we saw at the intro of the game. The very beginning, he was part of that drug deal that went down. And we soon find out that he's an informant. And then we also do hear that he's with the 18K, I think, which is the rival gang. And they're talking about killing Wei, I think. Like, this is getting pretty dangerous for him. So in scene 4, Dog Eyes has attacked Winston's mother's restaurant, the Golden Koi, and to retaliate, they hit Dog Eyes' sweatshop. Winston wants to kill the head of the operation, Siua, but Wei convinces him to take him alive to stay on the chairman's good side. It seems like Wei is still being tested, and Conroy wants him to kill somebody, and we kill plenty of people, so no problem there. Wei does capture Siua, who tells him that he gets paid by Dog Eyes, but the product goes to someone named Big Smile Lee.
What kind of name is Big Smile Lee? I'm curious how, when they're like, oh, we're short again, you gotta find your own gun, if that using other people's weapons is going to backfire or help him in the future when he might be framed for something like the police when Pendrew turns on him. There's going to be some kind of tie back between the evidence he's using that's part of the criminal and himself, or making sure that he stays in the clear, that he's not committing murder. I don't know. It's just something about that made me feel weird.
Well, and it's funny that they don't give him a gun, but they want him to kill somebody as a proof of loyalty. But they're making it hard for him by not giving him a gun. So I feel like that's sort of Conroy trying to put Wei in a corner a little bit. So after getting Siwa to the garage, Conroy says that he was wrong about Wei. And it seems like he's passed all of Conroy's tests now, and no one suspects him anymore. But I love how, at the end of the scene, Conroy says, "You showed your true colors." But then it shows the cop car right behind Wei.
Oh, I didn't catch that.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's well done. Well done on them.
Right.
Towards the end of that scene, we also see him having another nightmare again. And it's talking about just everything that happens. And it's really a good indicator that he's starting to get PTSD. I don't know if he's always had it or if it's because of this operation. But if he doesn't have a coping mechanism, he might accidentally let something slip with the triads, or the other way around with the police officer, that maybe he did something he shouldn't have let them know, and he accidentally tells Pendrew or Raymond, and he's going to get him in trouble. So I predict that Tang or Raymond's going to help him cope, or when something bad happens, that they're going to be there to have his back.
It's definitely a very high stress situation for him, and he can't really say anything to anyone or else he risks outing himself, and he's already had his life threatened at least 3 times. So yeah, you can understand why he maybe doesn't sleep so well. Okay, so back to Winston. He's on the phone with the chairman, Uncle Po, and it sounds like he wants to meet Wei, so he and Winston head out. On their way out, Conroy says something to Winston, and it seems obvious Winston is even more on edge than normal because he totally bites Conroy's head off.
I think he knows he probably screwed up somewhere along the line, but he really trusts Wei. And is this before or after his speech with Wei that they're talking about their true blood? It just foreshadows that at some point Wei is going to betray Winston. It's inevitable because one's a police officer, one's a criminal. But it also might trigger Wei feeling guilty that you have this guy who is willing to bat for you and you're trying to protect his family. If he dies, that's what he's asking him. And it's going to haunt Wei. He's going to get way more nightmares at this rate.
This conversation that they have in the car answers a big question for me, because I'm always wondering, why does he not listen to Conroy, and why does he take to Wei so much? But he basically says that no one else in the gang is really fit to lead. They're more just muscle, but Wei's got more of the know-how. And Winston seems like he's really counting on Wei to sort of take over. So I think that answers the question of why he's not really listening to Conroy, even though he should be. In this conversation, we also learn that Big Smiley, the one that's backing Dog Eyes, he has a lot of power. He deals drugs, prostitution, porn. He even sells women across the border. So extensive resume he's got here, probably brings a lot of money into the gang. But once we get to Uncle Po, he clearly takes an interest in Wei and gives him what he says is a lucrative assignment, helping some guy named Roland Ho collect debts.
Well, Uncle Po definitely knows more than whatever he's leading on. When Wei's like trying to give the credit back to Winston just to protect him. There's no way Uncle Po believes Wei. He's just going to let it slide. So I feel like the chairman at some point is going to pick Wei over Winston and therefore cause that rift in their brotherhood. Or the chairman's just going to kill off Winston and then give Wei his place.
You can definitely tell he's smart and he knows what's going on. It seems like, thankfully, Winston only really got a slap on the wrist. But it sounds like he had more things assigned to him to keep him busy. So because of all these new assignments, Winston is too busy to do his wedding stuff and asks Wei to help out with that. Before we get there, though, Wei helps Roland. And this is when Roland says The quote that you mentioned earlier, hierarchy is the only thing anyone cares about.
The hierarchy right now is probably Uncle Po is high up there. How's Uncle Po getting all this information? Like, how does that all flow upwards? And are people always hungry to step in? Is it that Winston has his position in a very shaky situation and Wei could easily either replace or take his place and then cause some more civil war? It's just the information, the way it flows up.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Wei's gonna somehow jump high up.
Yeah. Keeping Siwa alive, I think Uncle Po, for sure, like you hinted, knows that was Wei's idea. Which, if they hadn't, I think there would have been issues. So I think Uncle Po has reason to sort of skip over Winston. So helping Roland, we're trying to collect a debt from this woman, and we hijack her car with her in it. And she yells, "I'm sorry," and jumps out of the car. And there's no way she's okay.
We have to clarify how we get to this woman. Is that I had a replay because I thought you got into a car accident and you just flew out of the car and somehow you clung onto the yellow car. But no, it's pretty intentional. But still, it's like, my goodness, you could just like pull and stop. But instead, you fly out of the car and you dangle off the top of her car. I would be freaked out if I was her.
But I love that Wei says, I wasn't going to do anything that bad after she jumps out of the car. Like, I don't know if she survived that, to be honest.
Yeah.
I was not going slow. Raymond asks Wei to meet him, and he's pissed about the massacre and says that Wei should have turned Siwa over to them at least. Wei's quote in response is that would have put the entire operation at risk. The headbutting has gotten to a new level in this meeting.
It seems that Raymond's focusing his energy on the wrong spot. Raymond should be questioning why Wei did all of Pendrew's dirty work, and instead he's not talking about that. He's talking about other things. And I can't tell if Raymond's just trying to protect Wei or if he's trying to continue to take credit.
Yeah, Wei's quote is like, we're supposed to be doing whatever it takes. But then Raymond says, you crossed the line. So I think maybe that's the balance that Raymond is trying to keep is, how do you weigh doing whatever it takes versus crossing the line? And I think that's where the two of them are really butting heads and not understanding each other. And then we have Pendrew in the background pulling strings and not helping the situation at all.
I want to know Raymond's backstory. I'm wondering if he was in the same position where he was an undercover cop and that's what happened to him, is that he did whatever it took and it probably came at the price of his loved one or something like that, and that's why he's not willing to have Wei follow his footsteps where he crosses the line just to think that it's for the greater good when it's not.
There are case files that we can read. I don't know if there's any about Raymond, but I'll look. Maybe that's something that we can look at in the summary episode. But I agree. I want to know more about Raymond. And speaking of Raymond, he threatens to shut down the whole undercover operation and says, you are dangerous. Do you think he's right?
I think so. I don't know. I feel like any person in his position would do the same thing, so they would all be dangerous. So it's not really about Wei at this point. I feel like it's about his position of being an undercover cop.
Well, and I don't understand why he's mad at Wei about the massacre, because Dog Eyes attacked first, and then Winston retaliated, and what was Wei supposed to do? He managed to keep someone alive. He's not going to be able to stop Winston from attacking them altogether. So what was he supposed to do? Call in the cops? Well, that's suspicious. So I guess I don't really understand why why Raymond is so upset. But I do think that Wei certainly has the potential to be dangerous. Wei did get to meet the chairman. It gives the cops a leg up, so maybe Raymond will lighten up a little bit.
I feel like the ending of that push and pull where they're constantly using Wei to do things as a weapon, yet they don't want him to do. It's that, like, I want you to do whatever it takes, but not like that. I want you to do it this way. But obviously our way hasn't worked. Otherwise we would have had all these people arrested. So I feel like Wei's just going to be constantly getting whiplash between directions between Pendrew, Tang, Raymond and whatever Uncle Poe and Winston, like, that's just going to be an overall theme that he's constantly being told to do this and do that, and they're conflicting priorities.
We have the triad showing trust in Wei, whereas Raymond isn't. So how is that going to help Raymond? It's already getting messy.
And it's only part 2. Your driving has gotten a lot better since part 1.
It depends on the car, and I will say the racing, I feel like the controls are somehow better. I really can't figure out the driving controls in this game. They don't make sense. I will die on that hill.
Let's do Audacity on 1, 3, 2, 1.
Thank you for listening, and don't forget to send in any questions, comments, or game suggestions. You can find all our contact info on our website, replayreviewspod.com, or contact us directly through our site.
Did we completely miss something? Are we way off the mark? Or you just want us to take a deeper look at anything from the game? We'll tackle any topics you all want to hear in our season wrap-up episode.
We also have a Reddit where we discuss anything we're curious about. Go take a look and let us know what you're thinking. Our theme music is Condemned by Eggy Toast. They'll play you out, and we'll be back next week.